It gets a bad rep from some people, but Taco Bell is my favorite fast food. My favorite fast food item from them is the cheesy Gordita Crunch, and today we're making them homemade. Now, before we get to the recipe, which is gonna start right here, I do want to talk a little bit about what makes the cheesy Gordita Crunch so special, and then what I'm doing to mine to help amp up the flavor a little bit.
The basic cheesy Gordita Crunch is pretty simple. It's a flatbread with melted cheese wrapped around a crispy taco shell that is then filled with seasoned beef, spicy ranch, lettuce, and some more cheese. The flavor is decent, but it's the textures where Taco Bell has made this creation shine. When you bite through, it's this perfect duality of chewy and crunchy. Also, I bet you didn't expect to hear the word duality used to describe Taco Bell when you clicked on this video. However, when combined with the creaminess of a spicy ranch, a harmonious bite is created. My mouth is watering just talking about it.
So now that we know why the cheesy Gordita Crunch creates that addicting bite, let me talk you through a couple of the key things that I'm doing for mine that I think bring the flavor level way up. For example, this wicked spicy ranch, you just gotta make it.
First up is a flatbread upgrade to a pillowy homemade one. For our seasoned beef, in addition to a variety of spices, we will be using monosodium glutamate, or MSG. Pair that with a little bit of crushed tomatoes, and these will enhance the umami taste through the roof of our beef. Lastly, we aren't just mixing ranch and Frank's Red Hot sauce. No. We're making a wicked hot spicy ranch using piquin chilies to bring the extra heat, but it's still really balanced once you mix it with the mayo and the yogurt. This is a proper homemade cheesy Gordita Crunch.
Now that we've got that information down, let's learn how to make these things.
Let's start with the flatbread because we can prepare everything else while the dough is rising. Add in 4 grams of instant yeast to 200 milliliters of 105-degree water along with a spoonful of flour. You're going to stir this until it is dissolved and set it aside and let stand for 5 minutes until a light foam surfaces and little bubbles are visible. The proofing is done to test the viability of the yeast, and if there is no foam surface or little bubbles, the yeast is likely dead and should be discarded for new yeast. Meanwhile, add 300 grams of flour and 6 grams of salt to a large mixing bowl. Once the yeast is proofed, pour in the mixture and vigorously mix the dough with your hands until no dry flour remains in the bowl and a cohesive mass is formed, which will take about 2 minutes. Now, if you see my other videos, you may realize that this is the same process as the 2-hour pizza dough, except it's a 66% hydration dough. This lower hydration will give us a denser and chewier bread compared to the high hydration, which yields a lighter and airy crumb. After mixing this, the dough is going to be very sticky, so we're going to cover the bowl with plastic wrap and let this rest for 15 minutes. Resting will allow the flour to start hydrating all on its own and make the dough a little bit easier to work with when we start slapping and folding. Once rested, dip your fingers in some water and gently stretch and fold the dough over onto itself in a circular pattern, rotating the bowl 90 degrees each time. Now flip the dough out onto the clean counter. You're going to perform a slap and fold by picking the dough up and forcefully slapping it on the counter. Just lift up the side closest to you and fold the dough over, and then repeat the slap and fold for about 8 to 10 minutes until the dough starts to feel more elastic and stretch further without tearing. Now the dough is still going to be a little bit sticky during this stage, but as you slap and fold, it should start to stick to itself more than your hands or the counter. And really slap that dough for all it's worth because we need to get that flour hydrated. After about 8 minutes, test for gluten development by cutting off a little piece of the dough and stretching it very thin to see if it is slightly translucent before tearing. This gluten window test is the key to understanding if the flour has been hydrated enough. If the dough tears before getting to a slightly translucent window, continue with the slap and folds for another couple of minutes and test again. Now cover the dough with plastic wrap, and we're going to let this rise until it is about doubled in size, which should take 45 to 60 minutes. And while that's rising, we can prepare the rest of our ingredients, starting with the seasoned beef. To a bowl, add 1 pound of ground beef, 6 grams of salt, 3 grams of MSG, 3 grams of cumin, 2 grams of smoked paprika, 1 gram of garlic powder, 2 grams of chili powder, and 30 milliliters of crushed tomatoes to a bowl. You're going to mix this with your hands until these spices are well distributed, and utilizing the MSG and the tomatoes is going to enhance that umami flavor of the beef. Once mixed, heat a cast iron over medium heat. We're going to add the beef to the pan and start to brown it. Once it's cooked, just transfer it to a bowl with a slotted spoon to help drain off some excess fat. And this seasoned beef is a great component to keep in the fridge for quick tacos, beef and rice, maybe some sandwiches, or you can just eat it by the spoonful like I kept doing. With the beef done, let's make the wicked hot spicy ranch. Now the spice factor in this one comes by the way of the piquin pepper. These were some dried ones that I brought back from Mexico City that have a Scoville factor of 30 to 60,000 Scoville units. Kind of halfway in spiciness between a habanero and a serrano. We're going to make them into a chili puree to add to the sauce, but feel free to use your favorite hot sauce in lieu of this. Start by adding around 30 piquin peppers to a bowl and pour hot water over top of them. We're going to set these aside to rehydrate for about 5 to 10 minutes. Once hydrated, add them to a food processor with a little sprinkle of salt and a little bit of the water to help them get going. Blitz these peppers until you just get a rough puree. Now you could just add tomatoes to this to make it a salsa, or using soups or braising liquids for some extra spice, but let's get to our ranch. Set a mixing bowl on a scale. Add 80 grams of plain Greek yogurt or sour cream, 80 grams of mayonnaise, the chili puree, and juice from 1/2 of a lime. Now let's hit it with the spices. Add 1 gram of garlic powder, 1 gram of coriander, 2 grams of cumin, 2 grams of salt, and 20 cranks of black pepper, not one less. Whisk all the ingredients together until well combined. Now if you want it a little bit thinner, just add some milk. If you want it thicker, add more yogurt. And as always, taste and adjust the seasonings as you see fit. Spicy ranch done, let's make some hard shell tacos. Now get some corn tortillas and spritz them with baking spray fairly heavily on both sides. Additionally, add a sprinkle of salt to one side as well. Now I rolled up some tinfoil to place on the rungs of the baking rack because they're too narrow if they're laid on as is, and too wide if I lay it across 2 of the rungs. Now you're going to place the corn tortillas on the oven rack and let them hang down. Bake for about 5 to 6 minutes at 400 degrees until they harden and have some light browning. And just like that, you have hard taco shells. And I almost used, like really close to using, this old box of taco shells that we had in the pantry, just because I was like, maybe they'll be all right. But after tasting them, it was literally like eating stale cardboard. Maybe it was just a bad box. I don't remember them being that bad, but anyway, back to the flatbread. Once the dough is doubled, sprinkle some flour on the work surface. You're going to turn the dough out and start dividing the dough into 8 60-gram portions. Once portioned, using your fingers, gently press the dough into a circle. Now take a rolling pin and gently roll it out by rolling in one direction, then just rotate the dough and repeat. And you can use your tortilla shell as a ruler to see what kind of size of dough that you need. You're just going to repeat this process for the remaining pitas. Also, I didn't want to make all of these right now, so I'm just going to store them in this container in the fridge for a couple days for some on-demand pita bread. Anyway, let's cook these. Set a cast iron over medium-high heat. Once smoking hot, add the flatbread. You're going to cook on one side until the bubbles start forming and there is some light browning, probably about 30 to 45 seconds. You're going to flip this and cook for another 30 seconds, and then flip it one more time to brown up that first side a little bit more. For some of these, you may get some big bubbles, others not so much. Either way, they're going to be delicious. Remove them to a plate and store under a towel to keep those flatbreads warm and pliable while cooking the remaining breads. With all that being said, we have all the components. Let's create this thing. Take that gorgeous looking flatbread and add a generous helping of your 3 cheese blend. Now add the crispy taco shell on top and just lay it on its side. Toss in the microwave to melt the cheese for about 30 or so seconds. Once it's out and it's going to be hot, hold the flatbread and taco together to kind of seal it together, and hopefully it sticks something like this. Now load that up with a bunch of the seasoned beef, top with as much wicked hot sauce spicy ranch as you can muster, then more cheese, some diced tomatoes, and minced cilantro. Now I didn't have any shredded lettuce, or else I would have probably added that too, but this is it. The homemade cheesy gordita crunch. Just take a look at that cross section. Layers of texture, the flavor. It is now coming to a home kitchen near you. Let's taste this damn thing.
Here we go. That is a truly successful cheesy gordita crunch. It's got like this little little hint of like being from Taco Bell, but just with all the fresh components, it's this completely like flavor enhanced experience. That's gonna wrap it up for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Full recipe will be up on my website if you guys wanna make this for yourself. And there are a number of things that you could change from what I'm doing, like you don't have to make the flatbreads from scratch. You could do something different for your spicy mayo, maybe just throw in some hot sauce. I would definitely recommend doing the seasoned beef with MSG if you can get it or you have it. Oh my gosh, it's just absolutely delicious. But that's gonna wrap it up for me. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.